1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Woo! Hello guys, and welcome back to this one. So today we are going to be looking at the brute force for first occurrence, and because this is sorted, this is almost a no-brainer. This is just 5 lines of code. We are going to be going through all the 4 keytas, the graphical illustration, the debugger, the code explanation, and the complexity all in one video, because this is just 5 lines of code. It's already an overkill. You could even read the code immediately and figure out what it's talking about. It's just a sorted list. We have a target and we have an array. We go through all the array up until we find a value that hits the target. Immediately we find that we return the index. So the enumerate function just helps us, hold the index in context as we also compare across the, compare with the value, and immediately you find that we return. If we don't find it, we return -1, showing that none of the indexes ever held that value. So that's it for this guy. For us to now go ahead to see how it will look graphical in the graphical illustration, is basically we have this list, and we have 148. This is a sorted list. Now we're just basically going to start from the top. We go to the first guy. Let's say we are looking for 14. We go to the first guy, we don't see. We go to the second guy, we don't see 14. We go to the fourth guy, we don't see 14. The fifth guy, we don't see 14. This guy, immediately we see 14. So we don't ever get to the second instance, but we just hit the first instance, and boom, we have our 14. And that's how we find that there. Then just to also top it up with then the debugger illustration. So here we see the debugger 2, and we see how the values come into the debugger 2. We have our 5 as a target, and we have a as the the array. Now we're just going to be going through it with the index and the index value again, and then we see how the solution comes alive, and we basically iterate over it and just find our first instance. Now we go into it, we see the value as 1, and our target is 5, so they are not equal, so we move on. Our index is now it's okay at 0, so we move past that. Index now records 1. We have 2 as a value, it doesn't tally, so we could be looking here, could also be looking here, but the main thing is that we know what our value is and we know what our target is. So when the two of them tally, we'll get to see them match. But basically this is an overkill for an explanation, because obviously we understand the fact that we are going towards 5, and the first instance of 5 is where we would stop the value, which is here at the index of 4. So we found 5 and we found value to be value. So what do we go ahead to do? We return that index, and the index is at the index of what? 4, and we are golden. So basically we drop, and we've seen that. Now after that, we then look at the complexity. Obviously the complexity is a no-brainer as well, because this is something that takes in the sorted list. It says we go through. So in the worst case scenario is the scenario where we'll be looking for something like what's the value we had. So imagine we were looking for something like 9, and this 9 over here was probably 8. So we'll get to the last value, right? So the worst case scenario is O of n. So the time complexity is O of n, because we go through all the values in the list in the worst case. Then we have our space complexity, which is O of 1, because obviously we are not holding any value state, we are not holding any system, we are just basically calling our variables and working through it. So we are not holding anything here, we're not holding any arrays or any list, so there is no space complexity in a sense, so within the system. So it basically solves itself that way, and that's the complexity, and that's the whole the whole dance around first occurrence, the brute force way. I think it's the easiest stuff we'll ever come across, or the easiest brute force we'll ever come across to understand. I guess the 4K that we always go through is an overkill, but the main stuff is that we understand what we're talking about. So muchas gracias. See you on the next one. Ciao.